Paris, the City of Light, has always been synonymous with romance, culture, and grandeur. However, behind its iconic beauty and undeniable charm, the French capital is the stage for events that shape its daily life in an intense and sometimes chaotic manner. Among strikes, tourist overcrowding, urban problems, and social demonstrations, Paris is experiencing a moment of transformation, reflecting modern challenges faced by major metropolises around the world. These are the Paris events that all of you will watch today. Paris has been facing challenges related to excessive tourism, especially at iconic attractions such as the Eiffel Tower, resulting in gigantic lines for those who wish to see the monument up close. In 2023, the Louvre recorded 8,800,000 visitors, an increase of 12% compared to the previous year, and the Eiffel Tower received 6,300,000 people, growing 8%. To mitigate these impacts, the city has implemented tourist decentralization strategies, promoting less visited neighborhoods, such as the 13th arrondissement, Montparnasse, Belleville, Ménilmontant, and Sentier. The goal is to distribute visitors more evenly, benefiting local merchants and reducing the pressure on the main tourist spots, which generally remain crowded regardless of the season or even the time of day. According to tourism experts, for those who wish to visit the site, it is advisable to plan visits to popular attractions in advance, purchasing tickets online, and considering less busy times to avoid lines. For example, arriving half an hour before opening or during dinner time can help reduce waiting time. The region of Porte de la Chapelle in the north of Paris has been facing significant challenges related to crack usage, especially in the areas known as Colline du Crack, which translates to Crack Hill. Due to this similarity, many Brazilian internet users began calling the place the Paris Cracolândia, referencing the area by that name in the city of São Paulo in Brazil, which also houses people with chemical dependencies. Since the early 2000s, this area has been associated with the consumption and trafficking of crack, leading to high crime rates and antisocial behavior. In 2023, with the approach of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, authorities intensified efforts to curb outdoor drug use, especially near the Porte de la Chapelle metro station. The police carried out operations to disperse groups of users, aiming to improve the city's security and image for international visitors. However, despite these actions, some local residents expressed concerns that individuals using drugs were simply being displaced to other areas, without a long-term solution for underlying issues such as lack of housing and adequate health services. Furthermore, the construction of the Arena Porte de la Chapelle, one of the Olympic Games venues, raised expectations of revitalizing the area. Nevertheless, some residents fear that the benefits will be temporary and that social problems will persist after the event, which, according to reports, has been happening since the end of the Olympic Games in mid-2024. In response to these challenges, the French government has been seeking to implement more comprehensive solutions, including creating reception centers for people with chemical dependencies and expanding mental health and social support services. Nevertheless, the effectiveness of these measures is still being assessed, and the region continues to face significant challenges related to drug use and public safety. Paris has been facing significant challenges related to the proliferation of rats, leading some to call the City of Rats. It is estimated that there are about 6 million rodents in the French capital, representing approximately 1.75 rats per inhabitant. The presence of these animals is noticeable in public places such as parks, gardens, and metro stations, where they often search for improperly discarded food scraps. In response to this situation, the Paris City Hall has considered alternative approaches to dealing with the infestation, including the possibility of coexisting with rats and implementing non-lethal solutions to control their population. Many videos and accounts by visitors in tourist areas show rats walking around as if they were any other animal. However, it is known that because they live in sewers, these animals can be synonymous with dirt and disease, tarnishing the city's image worldwide. With the arrival of the Olympic Games in Paris in the year 2024, authorities intensified efforts to combat the presence of rodents, especially in tourist areas. Measures such as deep cleaning of public spaces and sealing sewer accesses were adopted to minimize visitors' exposure to rats during the event. However, after the event, many reports say that all this effort was scaled back, making it quite common to see a rodent on the streets once again. Paris has faced challenges related to public safety, including kidnappings, violent crimes, terrorist attacks, and human trafficking, especially involving immigrants from countries such as Nigeria. In 2023, the European Union recorded 426 terrorism-related arrests in 22 member countries, an increase compared to the previous year. France was responsible for 78 of these arrests, reflecting ongoing efforts to combat terrorist activities in the country. Additionally, the presence of Nigerian criminal networks in Paris has grown, notably the cults, groups characterized by brutal rituals and hierarchical structures. Originally student confraternities, they evolved into mafia organizations involved in drug trafficking and sexual exploitation. These organizations use human trafficking as one of their main sources of funding, exploiting immigrants' vulnerabilities, particularly women and children, for prostitution and other forms of exploitation. The Paris Judicial Police maintain constant surveillance of these networks to contain their expansion and lessen their impact on local security. French authorities have intensified operations to dismantle these criminal networks and also combat human trafficking. Additionally, integration policies and support for trafficking victims are being implemented to offer safe and legal alternatives to vulnerable immigrants. Paris has experienced a period of intense social unrest, characterized by frequent strikes and clashes between protesters and police forces. These events reflect the population's dissatisfaction with various political, economic, and social issues. On the 5th of December 2024, a large-scale nationwide strike took place, affecting essential sectors such as education, health, and air transport. The movement was a response to the budget cuts proposed by the government, demonstrating growing public dissatisfaction. Furthermore, on the 1st of October 2024, unions organized an inter-union strike demanding wage increases and the repeal of pension reform. The demonstration began at Place d'Enfer Rochereau in Paris and received broad popular support. The protests often resulted in clashes between demonstrators and security forces. Labor Day, on the 1st of May 2024, was another occasion of demonstrations against unemployment insurance reform that ended in clashes, resulting in 45 arrests and leaving 12 police officers injured. Even the major event of the city's Olympics was directly impacted by this period of strikes, when workers responsible for manufacturing the Olympic medals went on strike, demanding better wages and working conditions. Moreover, on the eve of the Games' opening ceremony, a counter-ceremony brought together hundreds of protesters criticizing the event's negative impact on the most vulnerable populations, highlighting environmental and social issues. These episodes demonstrate a period of instability in Paris, marked by social and political demands that often lead to street confrontations in the French capital. The Seine River, one of Paris's most iconic landmarks, has been the subject of intense debate due to its pollution, especially concerning the 2024 Olympic Games. With the approach of the Games, the city of Paris invested about $1.5 billion in depollution projects, aiming to make the river safe for triathlon and open-water marathon events. However, even with these investments, challenges remained. 1 month before the start of the Olympics, water samples indicated elevated levels of E. coli bacteria, surpassing recommended limits for recreational activities. Weather events, such as heavy rainfall, contributed to increased pollution, as runoff carried contaminants into the river. Because of these conditions, some preparatory activities were affected. In July 2024, triathlon training sessions scheduled to take place in the Seine were canceled due to inadequate water quality. Nonetheless, the situation supposedly was resolved in time, and the competitions were held in the river, where some athletes felt ill after completing the event. Reports indicated that athletes faced health issues after competing in the Seine. Belgian triathlete Claire Michel was hospitalized with a suspected bacterial infection after swimming in the river, prompting the Belgian team to withdraw her from the mixed relay event. Although depollution efforts were intensified before the Games, Paris's sanitation infrastructure still faces significant challenges. Paris faces a significant challenge regarding the rising number of people experiencing homelessness. In recent years, especially with the approach of the 2024 Olympic Games, authorities have stepped up measures to address this issue, sparking controversy and debate over the adopted approaches. It is estimated that Paris is home to about 100,000 unhoused individuals, including a considerable number of migrants. Municipal shelters do not have sufficient capacity to meet this growing demand, causing many to seek refuge on the streets and in public spaces. With the approach of of the 2024 Olympics, Parisian authorities implemented measures to remove people in street situations from the city's central areas. Since April 2024, more than 12,000 people have been transferred to other cities or temporary shelters outside the metropolitan region of Paris. While the government claims these measures aim to ensure public safety and health, non-governmental organizations criticize the actions, calling them social cleansing designed to hide poverty from international visitors. The removals primarily affected migrants, asylum seekers, and individuals without regular documentation. Many of these people were relocated to temporary centers in other regions, often without adequate support or clear prospects for reintegration. Furthermore, increased police operations and a lack of permanent housing solutions exacerbate the vulnerability of these populations. Authorities' actions have ignited heated debate in French society. While some defend the need to maintain order and safety during large international events, others argue that such measures violate human rights and do not address the structural causes of homelessness, simply sweeping the problem under the rug. This situation highlights the urgency of more inclusive and effective public policies to tackle the housing crisis in Paris. In recent years, Paris has faced significant challenges regarding pollution and air quality. Although the city has implemented various measures to mitigate these problems, episodes of atmospheric pollution continue to occur, especially during adverse weather conditions. Recently, Paris experienced a pollution episode due to weak winds and cold temperatures, resulting in the accumulation of locally emitted pollutants from road traffic and wood heating. In response, temporary restrictions were implemented, including reduced speed limits. The city has also been investing in expanding bike lanes and promoting shared bicycles, encouraging alternatives to the use of private vehicles. Projects such as transforming roundabouts into urban forests have been introduced to combat climate change and improve air quality. These actions have led to about a 40% reduction in fine particle presence in the air over the past decade. However, pollution levels still remain above recommended limits, indicating the need for ongoing efforts to improve air quality in the French capital. Paris is widely recognized for its high cost of living, affecting both residents and visitors to the city. The average monthly cost of a small and simple apartment in central Paris is about $1,333, which is very expensive when compared to other locations. Food has also become extremely costly in the capital, largely due to tourism. Merchants, capitalizing on the situation, often raise the price of food or services. It is estimated that a single person needs about $4,320 per month to cover their expenses in Paris. For tourists, costs can be even higher during a trip, as tourist attractions tend to charge still more for food and services, in addition to entrance fees that can significantly impact the travel budget. In short, both residents and visitors to Paris must be prepared to deal with steep costs, planning and managing their budgets according to the expenses associated with living in or staying in the French capital. Paris has seen a significant increase in pickpocket activity, especially in tourist areas and on the public transportation system. Recent statistics indicate that the city registers about 251 theft incidents per million visitors. In response to this rise, Parisian authorities have intensified police operations to curb theft, particularly near tourist attractions and metro stations. Before the 2024 Olympic Games, a strict crackdown on swindlers and pickpockets was announced in the areas around the Eiffel Tower, aiming to enhance the city's safety and reputation among international visitors.
Mete a mão nessa porra pra tu ver. Vai montar de tua roupa. Tá me cuspindo por quê, rapá? Vai levar cuspindo por quê, rapá? Tá me cuspindo por quê, rapá? Tá me cuspindo por quê? Pickpocket do caralho. Até viadinho pickpocket.
Authorities also offer advice to minimize the risk of falling victim to these thieves, recommending constant awareness of one's surroundings, especially in crowded places like tourist spots and public transportation. Paris has also been facing significant challenges related to overcrowding in its metro stations, particularly during peak hours. With a network that moves about 7 million passengers daily, some lines and stations become especially crowded, affecting both residents' quality of life and visitors' experiences. The morning and evening periods corresponding to the start and end of the workday record the highest passenger flow. At these times, platforms and trains can become extremely packed, making movement difficult. Images and videos of the stations during these hours show a kind of human anthill, where people are literally squeezed and can barely move. Environments this crowded increase the risk of incidents such as pushes and falls, and also facilitate pickpockets' actions, as noted previously. Paris, as one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, unfortunately also attracts scammers seeking to take advantage of visitors. These individuals employ various tactics to extort money or belongings from tourists, often through forced sales or deceptive approaches. In many cases, scammers approach tourists, generally in busy tourist areas, and offer to tie a bracelet around their wrist as a symbol of friendship. After placing it, they demand payment, often aggressively. There are also those who pose as representatives of charities or noble causes, asking tourists to sign a petition and make a donation. While the visitor is distracted, accomplices may attempt to steal personal belongings. Many reports from travelers who already know the city, as well as from authorities, warn of these risks, advising that if someone offers something free or requests a signature or donation, it is wise to politely decline and walk away. In addition, it is good to learn about common scams in the region you plan to visit in order to recognize suspicious situations. Paris is globally famous for its vibrant nightlife, offering a variety of entertainment options catering to different audiences. Areas such as Montmartre and Pigalle stand out for their entertainment professionals and shows that draw many tourists seeking unique experiences. The Pigalle neighborhood, for instance, is home to several bars and clubs with a lively and often themed atmosphere. Many stores and entertainment professionals can also be seen on the streets, offering their services. Although Paris offers a wide range of adult entertainment options, visitors should respect local laws and customs. Some people even complain about this situation, as walking the streets at night, it is possible to see several shops with very bold facades, something that may not be so pleasant if you are out with your family. Therefore, avoiding this area might be a good idea when taking nighttime walks with children. France, including Paris, faces challenges related to an aging population and a declining birth rate. Since 2010, the number of births in the country has dropped significantly, going from 832,799 to 678,000 in 2023, the lowest level since the Second World War. Although the French government has implemented various policies to encourage a rise in the birth rate, such as financial benefits and family support, reports indicate that officials in many cities have allegedly been making Viagra available free of charge to encourage a higher birth rate. Research shows that the main obstacle to having children in France is economic in nature, especially regarding housing, since each new birth can push families further away from Paris because of the city's high living costs. Therefore, public policies have focused on addressing these issues to create a more favorable environment for increasing the birth rate. The strategies adopted generally aim to provide financial and structural support for families, facilitating work-life balance and improving access to health and education services. Paris, like many global metropolises, faces challenges related to racism and discrimination. While it is difficult to categorically state that Paris is one of the most racist places in the world, many end up reporting and perceiving it in that way. In July 2023, for instance, demonstrations broke out after the death of Nahel, a 17-year-old, during a police intervention in the suburbs of Paris. These protests highlighted issues of racism and police brutality in France. A report from July 2022 indicated that, although instances of racism and xenophobia had decreased in France, prejudice discourse still persists in the public and media spheres. Non-governmental organizations, social movements, and government initiatives in Paris are actively working to combat racism and promote equality. Public demonstrations, debates, and inclusion policies are among the actions being taken to address these challenges. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.